Welcome to fuck it.
Can
Welcome,
you
ladies.
hear it?
What's up?
In the distance, do you hear it?
No.
It's the sound of DMCA.
Oh shit.
Nintendo's actually been pretty chill lately on that, so we should be fine. But
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Two Schmoes Show, where you would think playing a live performance of the Mario theme wouldn't get you DMCA'd, but you never know with the ninjas. I'm Miss Orion, and I'm a Schmo.
I'm Cairo, and I'm also a schmo.
And it's been 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen.
It has been.
I'll put the guitar up.
Easter's come and gone. The oh god, I can't remember my Digimon lore. The Gabumon has
Gabumon.
risen after 3 days. Praise be.
I love how society has ruined me to see anybody in like a crucifix figure and to automatically associate like the Jesus story to them.
Yeah. Do you remember that meme that was going around when the AI art stuff was first starting to happen, where somebody had it generate an image of Jesus's crucifixion as a Fortnite event?
Yes. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that person is going to go to hell, but it was fucking hilarious.
It's a banger. It's a good one.
Yes. I'd like to think God would think that's a pretty lit meme.
Mhm. I would hope so.
Yeah.
That's like generally that's kind of my like broad thoughts on religion is like, if this isn't okay, I don't want to be on that side.
I'm of the opinion if it wasn't okay, you'd be smited. Because,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
Old Testament
come
God
on.
should be feared.
Controversial week though. It's been an interesting one. We have the Marios that are super and so many other fucking movies. Oh my god.
Like what?
I can run through them real quick.
Let's,
Owen Wilson's Paint. We have Russell Crowe's The Pope's Exorcist. Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Holt in Renfield. We have Joaquin Phoenix's, and he's also apparently as Nathan Lane. That's cool.
did I
His
just
latest Mind Trip, Beau is Afraid. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck together again. It's pretty fucking cool. In Air, we also had a couple of stinkers to go through. One with Tony Collette, the Mafia Mama, and another one that is surprisingly like it makes the Super Mario movie look like a hit.
Oh no.
But Sweetwater, NBA biographic piece that critics are apparently very unhappy with.
Has there ever okay, so we were talking about this a little bit. All musicians are getting
Mhm.
like a biopic nowadays,
Yeah.
especially like the old classics. Has there
hmm
ever been a biopic for a sports athlete that's gone super well?
Well, the Space Jam one was okay.
Fuck you.
Mhm.
Fucking hate Space Jam. Go on.
I don't actually know. There's not been that many yet. I think part of the problem is that unlike, like music, you can listen to it forever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Generally people don't go back and rewatch sports due to how less accessible it is. If you want to go back and see a sporting event from like the 60s, it's going to be bad. The general performance of the athletes is just not going to be as good because that's just tends to be how sports progresses, and the quality of the film is going to be hard to watch too, where it's not like music where you can post process it some to make it not as bad to remove imperfections, and then it's also just kind of part of the recording at that point, the imperfections that it has. Sports being so much more mass produced for TV in a way makes it less refined and harder to watch in retrospect. So I think we have that problem where because newer introductors to the sport don't have the same knowledge of its history and specific details and appreciation for the people who were, dominant at that time, other than like, yeah, these people did good stuff. There's less of a push for that to happen. Give it like 20 years, and I bet we'll start to get a lot more. Once, like, honestly, Kobe Bryant is like the first obvious one, and that's just because he's dead. It's
Yeah,
harder to do these biopics when these people are still alive.
you're right. I guess it is a good point that musicians can be a little more of a timeless thing because those recordings preserve better than games.
Yeah, I'd give it time. I think it's just, uh, it's a time thing. Now that we have a good way to preserve sports history, like we have music, it should be not too long before we start to get some more.
Yeah, I don't know. I just never really thought about that until like you mentioned it right there.
Hmm.
Who would you think would be the best person to have for a sports biopic?
Hmm. I'm biased, but I
Yeah,
would be really interested to see some baseball biopics.
really?
Hmm.
Like Babe Ruth?
Not, and maybe I don't know. I'm not necessarily anyone in particular. I think that the downfall and scandal that baseball has had with steroids and betting has lent itself to make a biopic that is more than just a biopic, right? You can get that more mass appeal to it in a way that other sports haven't just because they're not as old.
You know who I would like to see a movie for?
What's that?
And I'm not saying this just because he's one of us, but Magic Johnson, I think would have a good movie.
Mm. Oh
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
that would be good too. And it's actually pretty good timeline wise.
Hmm. I think
Yeah.
that's like the one athlete I can think of that's had like a really interesting story through a career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be
Um,
interested in that.
I'm trying to think of like other ones. I mean, would Bruce Lee count? Because I know there's like a Bruce Lee movie, but he's more of an actor, remembered as an actor
Yeah.
more than an athlete.
I don't think so.
Okay.
You could definitely do a biopic, but I don't think it would necessarily be a sports biopic. That would just be an aspect of it.
Speaking of sports movies, you know what I just watched for the first time during our break?
What's that?
Rocky.
I haven't seen that.
Dude, it
Actually.
is actually good. I cannot believe
Yeah.
it.
I am realizing that too, where there's a lot of stuff from like the 70s to the 90s that gets kind of dismissed as being just like, oh, that's like just the popular stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, no shit. It turns out it's popular for a reason.
Yeah.
One
That's
that I watched recently was Total Recall.
Oh really?
Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah, where it struggles keeping up with today's standards in terms of visual effects, and I think even for the time the practical effects they used were pretty hokey, but from like writing and just plot and camera work, it's really entertaining still. It's not perfect, but it's totally a good time.
I think there's this little thing that I really appreciate about those movies now, being older.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the sense of scale we have gotten with technology now. Like watching
Mm.
something like Rocky, which was made on a very small budget,
Yeah,
it just feels more intimate. And I imagine it's something like that with Total Recall too, because let's face it, technology just wasn't up there at that point. We had no
for sure.
CG. We didn't have
It
Marvel.
Right, yeah. It,
Yeah.
it makes me. I wish that Blade Runner 2049 did better, because getting to see a glimpse of what is possible by remaking some of these 80s sci-fi movies with modern CG opens a lot of doors.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. We're seeing I guess it's not out of the question, right? Because we had Blade Runner that they
Mhm.
did that with, where they did the sequel for that.
Yeah.
They're redoing Dune right now, and it's been phenomenal so far. We're getting the second part sometime this year. So it's not out of the question. And it's probably a lot more appealing to studio executives to reboot something that was already popular once than, a brand new science fiction franchise. So I'll keep my fingers crossed for that.
You know what technology really would improve a nice 70s sci-fi film with?
What's that?
Fucking Star Wars, man. Imagine if we got more Star Wars. I'm sure nothing could go wrong there.
They definitely wouldn't have made a sequel trilogy that was met largely with a mix of apathy and disdain, only to then take the lead and continue on with it into other projects.
Hear me out, right? I wouldn't mind it if at this point we said fuck it and just rebooted Star Wars from the very beginning.
I don't want that.
You don't want that?
I I don't want Disney to just get to push a button and say, "Nope, this doesn't count anymore." They have to live with the shit they fucked up with.
Oh.
Because they have to learn from it, right? You know, as much crap as the sequel trilogy absolutely deserves, there's really good ideas in it, you know? There's strong characters that were mismanaged and good concepts that went nowhere, right?
You are right.
So we had the news this week where Daisy Ridley is going to be returning as Rey
What?
in apparently a new Star Wars film at some point. They have 3 new Star Wars movies lined up. Daisy Ridley will be appearing in one of them. And it was really interesting to see the discussion on it because as lukewarm as the sequel trilogies have been,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Daisy Ridley's role in them was actually pretty fucking good. And
Daisy.
if they can
Yeah, go on.
get more consistent, I don't even want to say competent direction, because both J.J. Abrams and fucking Glass Knives guy can't remember his name.
Ryan
Yeah,
Johnson.
I know. I can't. Ryan Johnson. Thank you. They're both good directors, but there was the clear lack of consistent vision throughout that made it be this teeter-totter of going one way and then the other and then back the other way. If they can have consistent direction from the start, you know, they should be able to do something really good with the character. And especially with Daisy Ridley staying in the role.
I think she got a really unforgivable treatment in there. And I think, honestly, I don't know if you could redeem like Rey as she is. You need to rewrite the whole character to make her work better.
I don't know. That would definitely be better, but I don't like the idea of Disney just getting to make a do-over. So.
You're right. I see your point because that's just a privilege they should not have.
That would be for, you know, narrative, a better decision.
I just get
we don't know pretty much anything about it yet, so only that it's happening.
Oh boy. I would love it if Star Wars just went a little more sci-fi because I feel like we are too into fantasy with Star Wars. Like, not enough sci-fi anymore. Like, I want some Futurama levels of, like, sci-fi bullshit.
Apparently I was wrong. We do have some very scant details about what is going to be happening broadly in some of these movies.
Okay.
And thankfully, they're not a trilogy, which is good.
Thank God.
I was worried, you know, because they said, 3 movies. Oh, they're going to do the same shit again. They're not. I don't see any details about the first movie that Daisy Ridley will be Ridley will play her character Rey in a story set 15 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker. So who fucking knows? But the second movie is apparently a like super prequel looking at the origins of the Jedi.
I don't mind that.
Yeah. And then the third, I guess, sort of brings it back around into the present, looking at more of the larger scale war that's going on. Notably, being led by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau, I will trust.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Jon Favreau made Iron Man work in a time when Iron Man was not meant to work.
Did the impossible.
Really, he did. We do not give Jon Favreau enough credit. We would not have, like, if you had to ask me the most influential person in the 2010s, like, film industry, Jon Favreau. Not, like, artistically, but what he started with the MCU cannot be understated.
For sure.
I want you all, everybody, all of our listeners, and this is how I know you're a real one. If you see Jon Favreau on the street, give that man a fucking high five. And, like,
Hmm.
$15. He doesn't really actually need the money, but just show your appreciation some way.
Speaking of, we got the first teaser for the Marvels this
Oh,
week.
oh shit. And
I am gonna take the hot take here. I think it looks good.
I
It's getting downvoted to hell on YouTube, but I am really optimistic about it.
okay. I've seen it. Um I am excited to see the potential of it. I feel
Hmm.
like there needs to be a little more direction in that trailer to get my hype,
Yep.
but I kind of like the road trip aspect of it a little bit, where they're
Yeah.
all displaced and like, where do we go from here?
Hmm. Giving there's like three things that I'm really interested in because we have Kamal Khan character who is pretty well established at this point. She had her own TV show, so they don't need to do that much with that. We have Captain Marvel, of course, Brie Larson, who I'm hoping they'll be able to let her have, emotions in this one. That would be a nice change. But we already also know the character. There's not a whole lot they need to do there, which I'm hoping will leave them the room to just sort of focus on Monica Rambeau
Yes.
and developing that character into a character rather than just a POV to tell WandaVision through. Um, and there should be some really interesting. I would hope there's some good dynamics to be made there. I really like the idea of the sort of gimmick with their powers being tangled up, right?
Yes.
Just having that be so simple should it's Marvel, so they probably won't. They'll probably overcomplicate the shit out of it. But like one of the most classic pieces of editing that you can have is just by like pausing the shot and removing something from the shot and oh my goodness, it disappeared. And they're basically doing that with this,
Hmm.
where they're just swapping the characters' positions. And from like a fight choreography and a science fiction design thing, it's a really simple idea. It's really easy to implement. You don't need to spend 15 million hours doing CGI to make sure that it all looks good. You just need to pause your recording, put people back into the different places, and resume your recording. And I'm hoping that will let them do some cool stuff. I really like the idea of the unique novel fight choreography that they could do by making use of the gimmick.
Wasn't there a movie that did something similar to that?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not new, right?
Hmm.
It's just more or less new for Marvel. They got kind of close to it with the Spider-Man movie, where they had them, doing the team up fighting and stuff. But I like the idea of them being able to use, if they're smart, use practical effects instead of digital ones.
There you go. I am of the opinion that we need more practical effects in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who I would love to see do more practical effects is Marvel. And I want them to work with a very specific person on this, right?
Yeah,
So Disney owns a lot, right?
they do.
You know who else they own? The Jim Henson
Uh,
Company. I want fucking Muppets.
okay.
I want puppetry in my fucking MCU. If they can do fucking Yoda, like back in the Star Wars movies kind of puppetry, I would fall in love with those movies all over again. Give me my puppet Fing Fang Foom. That's all I'm asking for, Marvel.
More than anything, I just want good costume design.
Yes, that works too.
Like good real costumes.
You don't like
Real
the
costumes
CGI
should be
skin?
no. It's really funny. I see if I can find it real quick. There's a bunch of ads that I've been seeing on Twitter from some garbage mobile game. What's it called? Bloodline or whatever. And it is so obvious that they have one character model that they just keep drawing over again and again and again.
So like,
It's really bad.
oh,
It's like one model and they just change the most obvious of assets to make it look different. Like different hair, You know, they
Oh,
drew on different clothing, but it's just clearly drawn on,
like
that kind of
puppets.
thing.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, it's so bad.
like VTubers, right?
No.
Oh, I'm gonna get so much fucking hate for that one.
Yeah. The Marvels got the first trailer for it.
I want Marvel to do more experimenting. I think they did like a lot of really cool experimenting in Phase 4. It's like probably the
Mm-hmm.
best part of Phase 4 right there. Um so I'm hoping this movie does more of that.
Yeah, I mean, we got the best Marvel news of the year already, being that they're gonna stagger their releases more so they can spend more time on them.
Yes, please.
Like that's the best news we've gotten so far. So if they can just keep to that, we'll be good. In the meantime, let's jump into some news.
Yay!
There's a pile. Um, okay, I'll give you carte blanche here. Do you want to talk Trump? Do you want to talk Tesla? Do you want to talk Twitter? Do you want to talk abortions? Or do you want to talk about Florida continuing to hate trans people?
God, I have no good options here.
Nope. Everything sucks.
Oh Jesus. Let's go with Donnie. Let's see what my
All
boy
right.
Donnie's up to.
Actually, good news.
I'll take
We didn't
Trump for
have a chance to
500,
talk about
Alex.
it yet.
Yes.
Trump was officially arrested and arraigned.
Yo.
We have next to no details yet, other than what the charges are. But about 2 weeks ago, almost exactly, Trump was arrested in New York, arraigned on 34 felony charges of various financial crimes related to the use of, God, it is messy to say the least. Using basically uh, campaign finances for hush money payments to porn stars, notably Stormy Daniels, but not exclusively.
You know, it, with all due respect to Stormy, it's just so surreal to keep hearing porn stars mentioned in my news like these last few
Mm-hmm.
weeks.
Yeah. There's a really good interview that Jon Stewart did talking about this in the wake of it, where they mentioned how unsurprising but equally interesting it is that New York Attorney General Alvin Bragg decided to push forward with the Trump prosecution for these very specific financial crimes related to these payments to Stormy Daniels, and how there has been very little progress made on the much more widely implicating financial crimes that the Trump organization did involving avoiding New York taxes by misrepresenting the valuations of their property.
Did they evaluate themselves as
Because
a tech company?
no. So what they did is that when it came time to pay taxes, they would undervalue their New York real estate, saying that it is like less square footage than it is, that it's less expensive than it is, so they could pay less taxes. But when they were getting loans from banks, they would overvalue what the New York property was worth in the opposite direction, literally saying that it is bigger than it is, that it is, more stories than it is, in order to secure larger loans, which
So,
is like obviously illegal. And they're not going forward with that prosecution at this time, instead going for this one. And the, reading between the lines of it is that that is likely because other companies are also doing the same thing, and a decision made on Trump's prosecution would open up the door to other people also being prosecuted.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Good old fashioned corruption. We
So
don't know, of course, definitively because, but it seems very likely that something along those lines is the case.
how does the county not give out records for that kind of stuff? Because like theoretically, and I'm just speaking from an insurance perspective, because I deal with some
Hmm.
county documents. Your county usually has like all the property information, um,
Oh yeah,
including like the square footage in like a public
yeah,
record that anybody can access.
yeah.
So they kind of let them get away with this too.
The insidious part of it is that they paid consultants that would be the ones to do those measurements, like after renovations happen, say, to turn a blind eye.
Mm.
They specifically hired people favorable to themselves to generate reports that would be in their benefit. That seems to be the gist of it, at least.
The world is mean in a vampire.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. These are white collar crimes, so they don't get prosecuted.
Oh,
Really
thank
good.
God.
Another John Stewart. I highly recommend checking it out on YouTube. He does. It's going to be off for a while, but he has been doing a podcast as part of his show, The Problem, where he just gets on with like law professors and stuff and talks about current events. Did a really good one about a week ago, talking about this whole situation, and the it was a Yale law professor that was brought on as the guest, talking about how uh, if the difference between in prosecution between white collar crime and blue collar crime, where if you go into a gas station and steal a bottle of Hennessy, you'll get the book thrown at you and probably end up in jail for 5 to 10 years for grand larceny. But if you steal $100 from your charitable foundation and use that money to buy a bottle of Hennessy, no one's going to bat an eye.
That sounds about right.
I did a really good job in for me just easily summing up the very obvious two-tier justice system we have. Just like, yeah, that's it. So it'll be interesting to see where this prosecution goes. I'm hoping that, the talk of it is how the charges that were actually filed against Trump in the state of New York ended up being felony charges, because at a surface level these are things that would usually be misdemeanors, and they generally require some other another felony to have been committed at the same time as them in order for them to be also considered felonies. And that seems to be, as far as I've heard, where the greatest question is it actually uh, is the other felony that elevates these to felony charges and not just misdemeanors present?
Okay.
Um, I find it very unlikely that the Attorney General of New York would bring these charges if there was any doubt of that. Uh, and they had a grand jury brought on to assess whether charges should be filed to make that recommendation, and they did. So there's clearly some evidence of some kind that lends itself in that direction. We just don't know it yet, and it would have to be pretty explicit, and we just don't know.
When do you think
Leaves a
we're going to
question
find
mark.
out? Do you think we're going to go to trial?
For sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Trump pled not guilty, so it's going to trial at this point.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Lawyers are eating good tonight.
the rate that these things tend to go, because for the most part, discovery should largely be done, right? Because they already went through the grand jury process. Um, there may be additional information that they'll try to get now that they've sort of gone on this next step. That's officially a trial. The concern, right, is does it happen before or after the 2024 election?
I think
That's the
they're
big
definitely going
question.
to try pushing it out before then. And Trump's going to be like, no, please don't.
I know that they're going to try to, but when has Trump ever let any legal proceeding go smoothly, right?
God
So
damn, you're right.
yeah, he's gonna squirm and thrash and make it take as long as possible. You know, just like Alex Jones did, right? That doesn't matter if they have a legal basis in it. They'll lie and cheat and steal their way to delay it and delay it and delay it as long as they can for their own benefit, collecting money from their gullible fan base the whole time to pay for it.
I was reading some report that he already raised like $24 million in fucking campaign financing.
I believe it. For a
Yeah.
campaign that hasn't even launched yet, yeah.
For a
That
campaign
sounds
that he
about
probably
right.
put in more money himself into already.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yep. Let's talk the first bullshit involving. Well, actually, for the first time, we're gonna get some news related to a Elon Musk owned company that doesn't involve Elon Musk. So that's good.
Go
Uh,
on.
but the first one very much does. So let's get this out of the way because it's a quick one. Last week, Twitter made the decision, and by I say Twitter, I basically mean Elon Musk, made the decision to label NPR government funded media. Or sorry, state sponsored media, I believe is what it technically was. Let me see if I can confirm it here. I had it pulled up. Which is, regardless, inaccurate.
Honest.
NPR
Yeah.
is not state sponsored media. And for perspective on how the label is typically applied, the BBC does not have the state sponsored media label.
But they literally have to pay a tax for the BBC.
They do. But they're not state sponsored media because they have editorial discretion. Unlike someone like Russia Today or the handful of North Korean and Chinese government news arms, where it is literal a branch of the government, not just funded by the government, right? It's an important distinction, and one that up until now was never taken quite so lightly. But NPR gets about 1% of their total funding from the federal government through grants that any company can apply for. And that was enough for good old Elon to want to slap them with the state sponsored media label. He backed down and instead gave them government funded media label, the government funded media label, which is still inaccurate.
May I recite like the best Reddit comment of like the year?
Please do.
From user Grogosh. Shout outs to you, buddy, in the thread r/news.
Mm-hmm.
Tesla and SpaceX is more government funded than NPR. Mic
Yes.
drop.
Do you want to know how much more government funded they are?
Please.
I'll put it this way. How many days do you think it takes for Tesla and SpaceX to get the same amount of funding that NPR gets in a year?
I'm going to go a month.
5 days. Every 5 days, they get the same amount of government funding as NPR gets in a whole year.
And you're telling me this is why I don't get an extra Tiny Desk concert every year?
Uh-huh. So yeah, not only is this very dumb and hypocritical, but it is even more so once you start to like sort of peel it back and go like, wait a minute, don't they get money from the government too?
Yes.
In response, NPR has decided that they will just no longer operate on Twitter, and they have left the platform.
Huge respect to NPR, by the way, for doing that.
Yep.
That is a power move.
Yep. They're not a small player either. They have literally, when you look at both NPR and their reporters, they have dozens of major Twitter accounts providing news and information on the platform with collectively millions of followers. And they're gone.
They're gone. Motherfuckers just fucking left. I cannot believe that, too. To think, like, okay, so I know NPR probably doesn't get a majority of their funding from their Twitter account, to be honest.
They don't.
Most people. Sorry.
I don't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it's like 87% of their funding comes from donations from individuals.
Yes, and most of the people that
The vast
donate
majority.
are fucking old people living off their
Yeah.
well-earned social security.
Yep.
Yeah,
NPR does good stuff.
they really do. Like, I'm trying to think of it because like the problem with NPR is they do a lot of shit. So it's very hard to like just point out like a certain piece of like journalism that they do
Mm-hmm.
specifically well.
For a primarily in 2023 radio-based company, the quality of content they do is way higher than it should be.
Dude, most fucking radio shows, and I'm speaking as someone who worked in radio,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them are just like a dude gets like a fucking stack of paper in the morning and it's like just a headline and a small abstract on the piece of news and they're expected to
Mm-hmm.
make like 20 minutes of content just riffing off this. They don't like
Yeah.
go into too much detail on shit. NPR, however, will always script out their stuff, very neatly organize it, get fucking sound bites. That is quality journalism. And don't know how I know that. I only have a journalism degree.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what I also really like about NPR?
What's up?
They correct themselves when they're fucking wrong.
Hmm.
Not many places are willing to do that.
I will say
Yo,
the other side of it that is unfortunate in terms of the state of Twitter. This is a major news source that is no longer on Twitter. That means that other smaller, less accurate news sources are going to appear louder in contrast.
you're right.
And it does feed back into that sort of echo chamber, unfortunately. And that's not the fault of NPRs, to be perfectly clear. That's the fault of Elon Musk and the very grotesque moderating policy that they've put in place.
I like that word, grotesque.
Mm-hmm.
It's very accurate.
It is also very apt for the other Elon Musk related story that we're going to have here. I got to see if I can find a quick article about it
Sure.
because I want to make sure I get the details right. But the TLDR is that Tesla is currently under a class action lawsuit over alleged privacy violations involving Tesla cars and their cameras, where Tesla employees apparently, rather systemically, were gaining access to private owners of Tesla's car cameras and distributing the footage from those cameras amongst other employees in large groups. Like, not one or two people doing a bad thing. Like, they had Discord groups set up in large numbers to share this stuff.
That's really fucking disgusting. Oh my god.
Yeah. It is very bad. And that's kind of the whole story. There's this major class action lawsuit going on over it amongst these privacy violations. Apparently, some of these videos that were distributed, including like nudity and stuff, because people do stuff in their cars. People
Mhm.
don't just drive. And it's really bad.
Yes.
I think it is fascinating to see in like real time the difference in company culture between Tesla and how Twitter used to be as soon as Elon Musk took over. Where you have someplace like Tesla, where this allegedly went on for like 4 years and nobody heard about it until now. And this wasn't like some quiet thing. Apparently, other employees of the company were very nervous driving in company cars because, they know that other employees could be watching them at any moment. And compared to Twitter, where as soon as Elon Musk took over, all of the sort of like good actors of the company did pretty much everything in their power to immediately leave. And you're left with this husk of what the company used to be, of all the people that already sort of agree with these tactics and philosophies that Elon Musk promotes. And you get shit like this, where you have a company culture of sharing very invasive private videos of your customers amongst each other.
I'm glad I don't fucking drive a Tesla.
Mm-hmm. For sure. The idea of any car with a camera looking into the interior is just like immediately less safe feeling at this point. That's a shame because there's good uses for this kind of stuff. There was a really good piece, Top Gear, like 2014, after Richard Hammond. He was in a really bad car accident on one of their shoots, put him in the hospital for a long time. When he came back, he was doing a review of a Mercedes. And one of the things that he was talking about was that at any given moment, the Mercedes that he was driving in was using sensors and cameras to analyze his current, behavior and driving state to a degree where he was being monitored in greater detail sitting in the front seat of this Mercedes than he was when he was in the hospital,
Hmm.
because there's just so much going on. And mostly that's good, right? It's making sure you're not falling asleep at the wheel. It's looking to make sure that you're not weaving out of your lane, that you're not distracted at a given point. There's good, legitimate purposes for them. And then Tesla comes barreling in from the sideline and fucks it all up.
Yeah.
So, a damn shame.
You gonna keep spitting, bro? Because I can put down some bars if you want it.
Please do.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, you didn't. What?
Oh. Well, if we're gonna just keep going, because there's not that much more for that. Texas
Yo.
continues. We'll talk Texas first, then we'll get to Florida, because Florida's got Florida once again proving themselves to be, or I guess Michigan continuing to be the anti-Florida. It's very funny how it's proving.
Well,
But
okay.
first, Texas.
Can I just point this out, right? I
Yeah.
love that title more and more by the day, only
Yeah.
because we are both peninsulas, yet we are in pleasant fresh water, and they're in pleasant
Yeah.
salt water. So fuck off, Florida. We can at least drink our water.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Also, we don't get
Insects.
hurricanes.
Also true.
Can we just get like a pure Michigan logo like going on every time we just point out how we're a little better than Florida?
Just have it be a watermark the whole time over
Oh,
the
there.
thumbnail.
I would, but my Mario thumbnail right now is kind of like my masterpiece, my magnum
It
opus.
is pretty fire.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. But anyway, let's continue.
Okay.
Yo.
A Texas federal judge decided this week that the abortion drug mifepristone would no longer be legal to purchase in any of the 50 states, saying that the FDA basically illegally made its approval.
How
20 years ago. 20 years ago. That's an important thing. Mifepristone has been legal in the U.S. for over 20 years now. It had a many-year period in the lead up to its approval for public comment, public criticism, questions to be asked about its efficacy and safety, and it had a 6-year period after it was approved as sort of like a statutes of limitations period where if any new information came in, it was like a fast track to being able to get it revoked, and that did not happen at all. Nobody had any problem with it until now.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. It is in the long tradition of bullshit Texas court cases that somehow find their way in front of the unbelievably right-leaning Supreme Court. This one's a real doozy. It takes the elements of the student loan, I don't even want to call it, bullshit that was before Texas, where they lack standing, where these are people who have not been injured in any way, bringing this case up to the first place. It partners that up with like Florida's Judge Cannon level of jurisprudence in the bullshit that the judge went around to get to the decision that he made, where at one point he gave the DOJ 12 hours to respond to one of the claims that was made in this case. Like literally, yeah, you have 12 hours. Tell me by tomorrow morning kind of bullshit.
That judge is
Clear,
sorry.
just rampant lack of ethics.
The Texas judges have been on some major bullshit lately. I will agree to that. I love how their egos are just spurging out over and over and over again.
In response, uh, Judge Thomas Rice, I believe, of Washington, issued a similar sort of declaration in response to Texas Judge Kaczmarski, basically saying the exact opposite in a pretty targeted move to preserve access to mifepristone amongst, I believe, his region, because these are all regionalized sections of the federal government, of course. But already, this has gotten up to the Fifth Circuit of Texas, which is a good circuit to remember the number of because it's a complete sham. It's like it is where Republicans go court shopping in order to make sure their bogus legal claims make it in front of the Supreme Court because they know, regardless of what they put forward, if it gets in front of a Republican judge in Texas, if it gets appealed up to the Fifth Circuit, which is more Republican judges in Texas, it's almost guaranteed to end up in front of the Supreme Court, which is, hey, what do you know? More Republican judges that they've bought and paid for.
Wow.
And it
Wow.
shows how flimsy this whole case is, where the Fifth Circuit gave a partial stay on the ban when it got to them. They acknowledged that they went through some real fucking mental gymnastics in their decision that I'm going to talk about in a second. But even the Fifth Circuit, the most biased conservative court in the land, said, we can't quite ban it outright just yet. Let's hear the arguments. That is how extreme this was. Getting into the actual text of their decision, though, it is wild. This is a direct quote from their statement. We hasten to emphasize the narrowness of this holding. We do not hold that doctors necessarily have standing to raise their patients' claims. We do not hold that doctors have constitutional standing whenever they're called upon to do their jobs. And we do not hold that doctors have standing to challenge FDA's actions whenever the doctor sees a patient experiencing complications from an FDA-approved drug. Rather, we hold that on the record before us, applicants know that hundreds of thousands of women will, with applicants' own statistical certainty, need emergency care on account of applicants' actions. So, because typically, right, the FDA does its job. They review drug submissions and assess them periodically as new information is brought to them
Mhm.
and make the determination of whether a drug is safe or not. The doctors of the United States then use that guidance. They do not have the standing to unilaterally, nationally, make a claim against that FDA's decision that causes that drug to be banned across the land. But even while they made this partial stay, they just completely ignored all that. And they said that we hasten to emphasize the narrowness of this holding. Doctors can't make a claim on their patient's behalf. If a patient takes an FDA approved drug that the FDA approved says is safe, and that drug turns out not to be safe, and the FDA knew that, that would be a problem between the patient and the FDA, not their fucking doctor. We do not hold that doctors have constitutional standing whenever they're called upon to do their jobs. The same thing. The doctors are not the ones being harmed by the FDA approving a bogus drug. Doctors doing their job does not give them standing in this type of case. They have not been harmed by this. And we do not hold that doctors have standing to challenge FDA's actions whenever the doctor sees a patient experiencing complications from an FDA approved drug. Again, the same thing. Doctors are not being harmed here. Allegedly, patients are. Doctors can't make this claims. But because we're the Fifth Circuit, we're going to allow it anyway. And here we are. And this is the same kind of thing that they've been going around in circles with the student loan situation, where these are people who are alleging harm is occurring, just not to them or not to them yet. And because the end result of what their claims says benefits the political leanings of these justices, they roll with it anyways and they make it up as they go.
I mean, yeah, dude, we gotta snuff it out before it hurts the big man, you know?
Yep.
Because if it hurts the big man, Reaganomics says it's going to hurt us all more.
Let's see if I can find this one real quick, because there's some really great tidbits in this that are just absolutely fucking mind blowing. A second independent injury from the adverse effects of misoprostone is the, quote, enormous stress and pressure physicians face in treating these women. One doctor said the strain, quote, is some of the most emotionally taxing work I have done in my career. Thus, this is an independent injury because FDA's actions significantly affect the doctor's quality of life. So legitimately, they are trying to say that these doctors have a claim of being injured because the treatment that the FDA approved is really, really hard.
Oh my
That is
god.
what they're saying. It is so fucking stupid.
It really points out a power dynamic, doesn't it? That
Mhm.
they're claiming that the person being harmed is the person in the higher order of power here, rather than the individual person who
Yeah.
all these laws are supposed to be protecting.
And it's really wild that they couldn't find somebody who had been harmed to stand up and make this case for them, right? These doctors are paying for this regardless.
Yeah,
Why not find an individual who took mifepristone who has actually been harmed?
this is what really pisses me off about a lot of like right wing groups and whatnot. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
your Ben Shabibo, you got your Jordan Peterson, you've
Mm-hmm.
got like all these dudes, Steven Kruger, Joe Rogan, um,
Toilet paper USA.
yeah, you've got like all these dudes who are like mouthpieces, but like when it comes to like actual politics stuff, like those are just culture war bullshit, like actors. But when
Yep.
it comes to like the actual politics, they never have a spokesperson for like anything, and it's always so wild how they're just like some guy, some dude, like the fucking litter box in the classroom bullshit they started pointing out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
always the litter box in the classroom. What
Yep.
fucking classroom?
They just make it up.
Yeah,
Or it's really interesting because I see this all the time amongst much smaller subreddits that are around,
yeah.
where like in esports, some random fucking person on Reddit that nobody knows that's using an anonymous account will say, "Oh, such and such player is going to such and such team. I have my sources," and then the like sort of tier two news in the base air quotes I can fucking do take that and say, oh, we have sources that say such and such is going to this team, and they just run with it regardless of whether it's true or not. They don't do any sort of journalistic checking to see if that's actually true because they don't care. They just want the headline.
Yeah.
And then from there, because the second tier of news is reporting on it, the top tier has to talk about it too because they don't want to get cut out of this major news that doesn't exist. Same fucking thing. Nobody that anybody can actually name makes these baseless claims about nothing because it doesn't exist, or it's being so wildly taken out of context that it might not as well. Tier 2 bullshit news picks it up to talk about it, and then, the likes of the people that you actually know their names of have to talk about it too because they don't have a choice at that point. They have to stay relevant.
I
It would be foolish of them not to.
I came up with a term for this in college when I was doing papers on this kind of shit. I like to refer to this as the snowball effect of fake news, where the more
Mm-hmm.
people talk about it, the more validity it gets, even though it still remains an empty piece of news. It's going to melt away anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, and we let it happen. Congrats, everybody. We did it. So proud to be something. So proud to be part of something so big. Fuck,
Let's talk Florida.
Florida, the anti-Michigan.
The anti Michigan. Florida has allowed death penalties with an 8-4 jury vote instead of a vote being unanimous. So they no longer need a unanimous vote to convict someone to death in the state of Florida. And this is one of my favorite fun facts about Michigan is that we were the first state in the union to put a moratorium on the death penalty. It's written into our constitution.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, we're based.
There are very niche cutouts related to the use of state property by federal agencies. So on a federal military base, for example, the federal military still has the death penalty, so they could conduct a trial within Michigan on a federal base that would result in a death penalty being ruled and carried out. But as long as you are within the law of the state of Michigan, the death penalty is there's a moratorium on it based on our Constitution. And it would take a constitutional amendment in order to change that, rather than the whim of a rogue governor.
I'm so proud of us.
There's a couple of really interesting things about this. And I don't want to get into the full details of it yet because there's been a whole slew of attacks on transgender rights across the US. And I think I'm going to wait to talk more about this next week, just when there's less other news to talk about. And instead, I want to point out a really interesting fun fact about this. This isn't the first time Florida's tried this.
Really?
Where, yeah, both the state of Florida and Louisiana have both had laws made that didn't require a unanimous agreement amongst the jury to apply the death penalty. Both made their way to the Supreme Court, and both were overturned by the Supreme Court. So, in this case, this seems very clear to be an unconstitutional law. Excuse me. An unconstitutional law under current precedent, and a paper-thin attempt to get this back under the lens of the now remarkably more conservative Supreme Court that is currently made up of. And hopefully, if they do their jobs, which would be a first, they'll also find this to be unconstitutional, where it is tantamount to, it's the cruel and unusual punishment thing, right? That's like the obvious thing. You're depriving people of their rights without due process.
Mm-hmm.
Court found that the Sixth Amendment's unanimous jury requirement is fully incorporated against the states. So it would take a pretty major change in doctrine for this not to be overturned by the Supreme Court, but that hasn't stopped them yet.
If there's a whim, there is, in fact, a way.
Yeah. I don't even want to talk about some of the rest of this.
You gotta, though. It's your job.
All right. Let's briefly talk about the very uncomfortable situation involving the Dalai Lama.
Oh, fuck. That's what you meant. I don't want to talk about
Yeah,
this.
I don't want to talk about it either, but you are right. We should. Very briefly.
Okay, everybody.
Oh
the
my
white
God.
guys are going to talk about a religion they're not a part of. Everybody gather around.
Totally off topic. Have you seen the Goooooo-inated BBC Twitter?
Gesundheit. What was that?
It is a Twitter account that I believe is automated, that whenever the BBC posts a news article, it translates it through a layer of ooh text.
Oh, no.
And then reposts it.
Okay.
I wonder if they did that with this article.
I don't want them to. This is
because I'm pretty sure it's a bot, and it does it by default automatically. And that would be very distressing if it did happen. Why would it be distressing? Well, because apparently back in February, new video has surfaced showing the Dalai Lama asking a boy, a child, to, quote, suck my tongue. Couple of key pieces of information here, because on any level, it is clearly inappropriate.
Yes.
Especially so in the context of the Buddhist religion not being isolated from the problems of sexual predators involving children. It's not just a problem with Christianity. It is just like Christian priests, if you want to put yourself in a situation where you can regularly be on your own with a lot of young children, being involved with any major religion is a good way to get to that point. So the problems present in Christianity with sexual misconduct involving children, it's not exclusive to them. The Dalai Lama should know better than to have done this in any context. That said, there is some context to it that can be better understood as to how this happened in the first place without excusing it entirely.
Mm-hmm.
So, in Tibet, sticking one's tongue out can be considered a form of greeting. That is pretty established fact. Also, in Tibet, the expression to suck my tongue is apparently a not literal expression that is meant as a form of giving your entire self to someone. Typically, an expression from older folks to younger, the idea being that they have given, their life to make the younger people's lives better and that they have nothing more that they can give, right? So there are layers of context here that make it make more sense. It is still very, very uncomfortable and disappointing to see. And I personally expect better from the equivalent of a pope than this.
Yeah.
It's a major religious leader. They can do better than this.
They should do better than this.
Yeah. Last two pieces of news. I don't think we actually got to talk about it in the ton of detail. We probably didn't talk about it at all. But Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has been embroiled in a bit of a corruption scandal, to say the very least.
What?
Where there has been, I don't think it's even fair to call it claims at this point, because he hasn't refuted this. It is now known that Justice Thomas received significant gifts in the form of vacations and trips on private planes and yachts from what is supposedly a sort of friend of the family, Harlan Crow. And at first, everyone just kind of thought that was the end of it, where it was like, oh, the excuse, right, was that, well, of course it is. We're friends. Why wouldn't we go on trips together? The problem being that it wasn't reported on his taxes as a gift, which is
Oh.
legally required.
No.
More recently, a couple of days ago, in fact, we found out that it got a lot more weird than that.
No.
Where apparently Harlan Crow, not only did they buy Clarence Thomas's childhood home, but has done so with the condition that Thomas's mother is still allowed to live in that home and will until she dies. It's like the ultimate reverse mortgage.
I wish I could have that.
In the time since Crow purchased Thomas's home, they have done major renovative work in the form of tens of thousands of dollars of improvements on the 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. According to ProPublica, renovations included a carport, repairing of the roof, a new fence and gates, according to city permit records and blueprints. And would you know, this also was not reported. So it's bad. It's not good. Clarence Thomas is trying to hide behind the idea of a change happening to the specific verbiage behind what counts as a gift that needs to be reported. Typically, up until now, if you were traveling on a private yacht of your friends and they owned that yacht, that would not need to be reported because they're not paying anything extra to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your friend invites you on basically a private cruise on a ship that they don't own, or a plane that they don't own, or anything like that, anything that is not their property, conventionally, that does need to be reported. And that is where the problem comes into place. So, yeah. Not good. And the last piece of very, very serious news to keep on our radar. Billy McFarland has confirmed that Fire Festival 2 is happening.
About fucking time. You ready for this shit?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
LimeWire responded to Billy McFarland's tweet saying,
LimeWire?
I know a safer way to enjoy music. Yeah, LimeWire. That LimeWire.
That LimeWire, by God, it's back.
Is actually Sam though. Anybody who doesn't understand the meme that is Fire Festival, I highly recommend the Internet Historian's video on it. TLDR, it was a giant scam. People lost a bunch of money, and Billy McFarland went to jail for about 5 years for wire fraud.
Yay!
Womp womp.
How bad do you think this is gonna go? Because, like, has he given any information about the event other than he wants to do it?
Nope.
Oh my,
Literally nothing. Realistically, it is not going to happen.
yeah, I would hope so.
But if it does, the memes are going to be spicy.
Oh my gosh. I thought we were past this point in like internet history where we would have something like this, but I can. It's like a reboot almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk some entertainment because we have a lot to go through here.
Oh, we do.
First of all, we had the teaser trailer for Ahsoka, a Disney Plus show. So that is a thing that will be happening, and it doesn't look bad.
It looks pretty good for Star Wars.
Yeah, it seems much more in the vein of the Mandalorian than Kenobi, if that makes sense.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. It also seems to take place somewhat concurrently with the events of God, losing the words. The other most recent Star Wars TV show that just finished up. Not Rogue One.
Rogue Squad. No, I don't remember what the.
No, that
That's
one
the
got
problem with a lot of
canceled.
the marketing of these.
They're all so similar.
Yeah.
Oh man, I should know this.
You should. You
That's
watched
like
it.
Andor.
That's it.
Seems to be about that same time period. So, yeah, looks decent. Into new movies though, one of us has seen the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Who?
Well, it wasn't me.
Oh shit. Yes, I've seen the Mario movie. I have climbed the mountain and it is mushroom shaped. Um it is not bad at all. And anybody who is trying to tell you it's bad is not your friend. I guess I should go more in detail, shouldn't I?
A little bit would be nice.
Do you remember playing Super Mario Brothers?
So I started with Super Mario Brothers World.
Okay, that's the best one in my opinion. Um, this movie is. I guess I should probably start with the meme of it, right?
Sure.
Chris Pratt as Mario. This is something. I feel like that performance exemplifies this movie all too well. It looks like a lot of things can go wrong, but here's a little plot twist for you. It's perfectly fine, perfectly serviceable even. Um, the infamous Mushroom Kingdom, here we come line, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that is not in this movie.
Well, thank God. That
Yeah,
was awful.
it was the worst thing I've ever seen. So,
Why would they
congrats.
put that in the trailer?
Someone had.
Whoever cut the trailer needs to be fired. What the hell?
I'm sure they probably were fired, and Chris Pratt probably has like a restraining order against them at this point too. um, this movie is very Illumination, but I can say it's not like the worst of Illumination. In fact, I would say this is probably their best movie by far.
Better than the first Despicable Me.
Yes,
That's a high bar.
that is a high bar. I would give this movie like a 7 on a good day.
Okay.
The original Despicable Me, it would probably be like somewhere like a 6.5 for me.
Okay, that's fair.
This movie is easily their most beautiful film. Now, I have a theory on why this is the case. Despicable Me, more than likely, well, I'm sorry, Mario. So, with Despicable Me, they had to start from scratch, right? They didn't have any pre existing designs, and they had to decide what a minion was, what was a Gru, that kind of bullshit, right?
Right.
With this movie, they already had the designs from Nintendo. And I think, in fact, I know that their wheelhouse is much better using pre-existing designs, which is why all their things are super fucking simple and they reuse the same character model over and over again. So when you have something like Mario where everything is cookie cutter, they can do a lot more with that, and a lot more time went to the art direction around this already existing world. This movie is fucking gorgeous. It is honestly, it's worth the ticket price just to go see it for the visuals alone. You're not going to get a good story. It's a Mario movie. Um, so suck it up. That's going to be the case. I'm pretty sure that's why the critics hate it. I went
Um,
in expecting
yeah.
like the generic Mario story of we need to go save the princess. It's a me. Um, so that is very much what you're getting into. Now, in all respect, they flipped it on its head for this movie. They're saving Luigi instead of like the princess, but it's
Hmm.
essentially the same deal. Um, the best performances in this movie are Charlie Day as Luigi and Bowser as Jack Black as Bowser. They're very much entwined, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, the best scene is those two having a one-on-one conversation with each other. It is. I won't spoil it because again, best scene, best comedy. But it's like you put just two very good comedic actors in like a chemistry, a very good situation, like very good skit situation, and they have instant chemistry. Chris Pratt is honestly like the worst, but he's also very serviceable in this movie. Another really distracting one is fucking Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong,
Yeah.
which to everybody who saw this movie, was I the only one who was pissed that they referred to Donkey Kong's kingdom as the Kong Kingdom and not Donkey Kong Country? Because that was an obvious reference that could have shoehorned. This
That would
movie,
have been a good layup.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie has a lot of references. My favorite was when they were in New York, Brooklyn specifically. They had a lot of
Mhm.
Punch Out references, which I want a Punch Out movie now.
All right, that's fun.
It is a lot of fun. There's a lot of like very good love letters to old school Nintendo here. Um, fucking, I knew it was good because there was this lady behind me every time she's like, "Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember
Mm.
that." Over and over and over again. Fucking hated that. But oh well. Eventually, it got to the point where I felt like this movie needed to be longer. It's only like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of go, 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 don't fucking stop. And I wish we had more moments where we could just let these characters breathe. Like, okay, so everybody has like a character arc in this movie, right?
Sure.
Okay, so Luigi is I need to go find my brother. Mario is I need to go find my brother, but he has an internal arc as well since he's the main character. What do you think the fucking internal arc for Mario is in this movie?
I have no fucking clue.
I'm afraid I disappointed my father. There's a dad
Okay.
Mario in here.
Is Dad Mario okay? Is Dad Mario voiced by Charles Martinet? Because that
He,
would be fucking great.
let me double check. I don't think so, but there is a guy who is basically just old Mario, voiced by Charles Martinet. He has two roles in this, so he might be
Okay.
the father as well.
That would be very funny if it was.
Mario's
I hadn't
dad.
seen who he was credited as, just that he was in it.
Yeah, he plays like the original. He is Charles Martinet. Fucking knew it.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
that's fun.
Yeah,
That's fun.
yeah. So there's like Mario's dad who looks just like an older Mario, which is weird because like Mario is supposed to be 30 in this movie,
Right.
and he still lives with his parents. Which
I
shout
mean,
out,
it's 2023. I'm not going to
shout out,
criticize him for it.
shout out. I feel like represented.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're just like strictly like there's like this scene where Mario's dad's like, Luigi's my favorite son. You're such a disappointment. And it's like just kind of heavy, man, to have like Mario of all things get like so dark with like
Hmm.
parental stuff. It feels like they were trying to shoehorn that whole like generational trauma bit, but very much not a factor in this movie.
Yeah.
They also have Mama Mario in this movie. And as you can probably imagine, she looks just like Luigi. In fact, the Mario family, because there's more. They have like the whole stereotypical Italian family where everybody's together in the same apartment. And they all look really good together in the film. because they all have like a very consistent design philosophy that Mario and Luigi kind of like brought forward, and they all have like a very nice congruency to them. This looks like it's official Nintendo stuff. You could tell me Miyamoto designed these characters, and I would believe you.
So
Um,
I have it pulled up here,
yep,
and having not seen it or heard a single line of dialogue or seen a single frame of animation other than this exact literal one that I'm looking at,
yeah.
the Mama, oh my god, her first name is Mia apparently. The
Oh,
Mama Mia Mario, that's a fucking crime. Looks like the most generic animated character I can possibly imagine.
which one? The redhead?
The Mama Mario. I don't know.
I don't see her in this. I might be looking at a different one.
Here, I'll send this over to you. This is what I'm looking at. I'm on the Mario wiki, so it's of course gonna be accurate.
Yeah, that's Mamma Mia Mario.
Yeah, she looks like she should have a Midwestern accent and tell me about her kids going from soccer.
Oh my god.
I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong. I love it. And there's Grandpa Mario right next to her. Oh my god. So another thing that pisses me off about this movie slightly, they use Mamma Mia way too often.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's very much referenced too often. Like every slowdown sequence, it's Mamma Mia or something like that.
Mm.
I'm a little over it, to be honest. Um, they do this really fun, like early commercial aspect. Like your introduction to the Mario Brothers is that commercial trailer that they showed.
Mm-hmm.
That is a lot of fun. Especially because that's where they make fun of like the original Mario voice. Like not Charles. Like, Charles is like Charles Martinet's. Like it's a me Mario. They do that
Yeah.
like in that version of the a commercial, and that is a lot
Sure.
of fun. I'm trying to think of I should have wrote better notes for this, but this is a movie I've seen like 2 weeks ago. Oh, here's
Yeah.
one. How many licensed songs do you think are in this movie?
I would hope zero.
There's not zero.
Is it more than five?
Let me check the official soundtracks. I think it's five or just more than five.
Uh, why? Like licensed as in like not Mario music, like
Actual,
music. Oh,
like the Beastie Boys are in this movie.
I could see that working in the Brooklyn.
Yeah, no, literally, their whole the first song playing in this movie that's not like a Koji Kondo remix is Mario and Luigi have to get to a job, and on their way to the job, they go through a construction site, and the camera does this really cool like side view to make it look like a Mario level as they're like parkouring through it, which is very good, very neat if you ask me. And but over here, it plays fucking No Sleep Till Brooklyn as this is all going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the licensed songs, and let's play a game. I'll tell you the song. Can you tell me the context it was used in? Right.
Okay,
So
sure.
that's the first one.
Yeah.
The second is Habanera from the opera Carmen.
I'm sure it's not used in the fire flower sequence.
It is actually not.
Oh, then I have no idea.
I don't remember either. My
Okay.
girlfriend said that she recognized the reference, but I don't remember where this
Sure.
was.
Yeah, I don't know that song other than just like I know habanera sounds like spicy.
Yeah.
So
Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler.
so that is probably used as like a bait and switch when they find out that Peach doesn't actually need saving.
Um, no, it is used as a
Okay.
training montage song while Peach is
Oh,
teaching Mario how to platform on like the platforming course they have.
sure.
Yeah, not exactly noble. Not exactly Shrek 2. Take on Me by Aha.
I have no idea, but that has no reason being in this movie.
So, you ready for this? They explain the
I'm
origin of
recording.
Mario Kart in this movie, and it's in the Donkey Kong Kingdom. The Kong Kingdom,
Okay.
where they all have go-karts and they drive around, and this is used as like their driving song.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's really bad. These are like the worst moments of the film by far.
I can't believe they made the Donkey Kong world a car-centric society.
Mm-hmm. The Donkey Kong rap from Donkey Kong 64 is also in this movie, by the way.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I could see that. That seems justified.
Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
I have no fucking idea.
You ready for
I'm
this?
sure it's being used wrong, but yeah, go for it.
It's used in the parts of the movie where they're building the Mario Kart.
What?
Yes.
Why?
It's just the montage song that they use. I don't get it.
Oh my god. No, that makes no sense.
Yeah. So after that is one last song. It is Mr. Blue Sky by Electric Light Orchestra.
It's a banger, but no, I have no idea.
Okay. It is used for the last sequence after the fight with Bowser, where they're all just going to like adventure in the Mushroom Kingdom.
It's very cheesy.
It is very cheesy. It is got some nice animation, but I agree with you, it's very cheesy. Overall, if you think you would find the concept of a Mario movie charming, it's a lot better than the fucking old 90s 80s film.
Well, yeah, but like the bar is so low, it's through the floor at that point.
Yeah. I will say it could have gone wrong so many ways, and it went right in all the right ways. And they also sequel baited at the end too.
It's really did.
You want to know what the sequel bait is?
What's that?
A lone Yoshi egg post credit scene.
Terrible sequel bait. What the fuck?
I know.
That's awful.
It's just an egg.
That sets up literally nothing.
It's an egg, and they just close up on it. Music swells, then it cuts to black, and you just hear Yoshi.
My God.
I know.
Unless Yoshi's gonna be like a fucking villain or something.
I'll dig
I
it.
don't want to see Illumination's take on Birdo.
Oh God, no.
They'll have to if they're doing Yoshi Island.
Maybe. So
Like, I'm pretty sure Birdo was one of like the lieutenants of the like Bowser at that point.
I thought I don't know. My Mario lore is very rusty.
It's been a while. That's fair.
Yeah. I just want a Mario Party movie, maybe. I don't know.
I want, if I'm gonna get a Mario movie, the only Mario movie I want is a Paper Mario movie.
You know, I thought the same exact thing, to be honest.
Like, take a story that most people haven't been exposed to yet.
The one thing I will say is this movie did well enough that I can guarantee we're probably going to get another one. And I am excited to see what they decide to do when they don't have to play it so much by the books.
Well, if they're using Illumination, I don't believe that exists.
That's
but
probably why they also bought their own animation studio while making this, because a business deal is not going well if you buy your own fucking animation studio halfway through it.
yeah. I don't know. It's, I'm sure I am an Illumination animation hater.
Yo,
This seems fine, but I am of the opinion that fine is not good enough in the current year. Do better.
you're
And
right.
Illumination, I know, is not capable of that. But still.
You're right, for one. Fine.
That seems to
is-
be the gist of most of the like critical reviews that I've seen, is that there's a lot of like, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10. It's just like, it's fine. If you're a kid, you'll like it, but I'm not, so I don't.
You know, if I was like 10, this probably would have been my favorite movie.
I'm sure it's great.
Yeah.
It's just kind of vapid.
It is vapid. It is very
Yeah.
surface level too.
Yeah.
Every time I think there's like a cool idea that's about to happen, it kind of
Mhm.
goes in an opposite direction. Like the best scenes are a Luigi and Bowser scene, which is kind of homoerotic. because like it's Bowser just like kind of picking off mustache fibers from Luigi's face. You see like each individual fiber.
Mhm.
Um, and they say like a couple of really good funny lines during all that. So it's comedic as hell. And Jack Black gets like a song number throughout it, which is fucking on iTunes and Billboard and all that
Yeah,
shit.
I've heard about it. I
Yeah.
have no interest in seeing it past that. I have no doubt that Jack Black is the best part of it.
Yeah.
Like that definitely seemed like a given from the start. But, yeah.
Overall, I would wait till it's on streaming or like a fucking rental or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not giving anybody money to see this. I'll probably see it at some point, but it won't be on my dime.
Good point. Good answer.
Yeah. I guess part of it is probably just as much that our generation kind of got spoiled with the sort of like peak of Disney and Pixar movies coming out.
I think in a world of those kind of movies, this has no right being here, and it obviously should be better to compete
Yeah.
with those. I would also probably say that this is heralding something to me. This tells me that we are probably going to get more video game adaptations because this movie did so fucking well. And I'm willing to
For
put
sure.
money that the big
Yeah.
trend of the 2020s will
Mhm.
be video game adaptations.
Yeah, this movie's making a shitload of money. And a lot of that has to do with just Nintendo being the good business people that they are,
Mm-hmm.
where apparently it has a staggered global release. Where in the US, of course, it's being released on Easter. In the US and Europe, it's being released on Easter, where everybody has, at least the weekend off to see it. Apparently in Japan and that the sort of Asia region, it's being released in like a week, which coincides with basically their equivalent of spring break. So Nintendo knows what they're doing. They're going to make a shitload of money on it just because, it's Mario and it is Mario that is going to be out when all these kids are out of school.
Yeah. This in The Last of Us, I think, are heralding the big video game boom
Mhm.
adaptations.
Yeah. I'll take my sort of hot take on it is that I think it's going to be kind of unfortunate because whenever something booms, it usually just ends up in a glut of mediocrity.
Oh, I agree. I am not looking forward to it, but
You know?
I do think we might get some good stuff eventually.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. We've had so much bad stuff already that the bar should be, not too hard to clear.
UA Bull is going to be so fucking happy.
They're going to have him busy until 2028.
Oh my god. That being said, where's my Legend of Zelda movie now in Nintendo?
Hopefully, that would be the reason why they've made their own studio.
Yeah.
Because, like, the Legend of Zelda games have actual story in them.
I think someone said, what was the line? Some Nintendo executive says that's what they consider their story franchise.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yes. What else do we have on the menu today?
Quite a few.
Oh shit.
Let's sort of go in order here because that's how they released. Paint came out last week. Owen
Mhm.
Wilson film. It's not doing great. It's what is it here? Audience scores is at a 50. Critics is lower than that. It's a bit unfortunate. Thought it was an interesting idea, but it hasn't stuck the landing.
Okay. Unfortunate.
So uh now I think the next 5 of these are all from this week. The Pope's Exorcist. I saw a trailer for this one when I went and saw John Wick.
Okay.
I am not surprised that audiences are liking this, but this looked awful. Inspired by the actual files of Father Gabriel Amorth, chief exorcist of the Vatican, the Pope's Exorcist follows Amorth as he investigates a young boy's terrifying possession and ends up uncovering a centuries-old conspiracy the Vatican has desperately tried to keep hidden.
Okay. Sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. We no fucking way. I hope this person is being sarcastic, but with these like pseudo religious movies, you never know. I'm not giving you who the fuck is this? Stephen Romay. I'm not giving you $2 to read your shitty review of a shitty movie.
Why would you pay $2 for a review?
I have no idea. His review says it is a powerful historical drama, and Crow is outstanding as a real-life Vatican exorcist in chief. The fuck it is.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
You know what's
So-
kind of ruined my Russell Crowe for forever?
What's that?
I saw
What,
Les
Russell with your
Mis.
Jimmies?
Yes.
Oh, really?
I-
Les Mis isn't that bad.
It's a
People need to
good
just-
story. It's a bad musical.
It really isn't. It is like from a technical standpoint, not good.
Yes.
But people need to like even you can even say as a musical, it's not good. People just need to watch it from the perspective of it just being a movie, and it's fine.
It's a
Good
good
even.
story. It's a good story. I liked it for the story. I fucking love the case of like the whole conflict between Javert and what's his face. I forget what his name is because he doesn't sing his name over and over again throughout the fucking musical. But Hugh
Mhm.
Jackman's character, it's well
Yep.
acted too. I will give you that.
Mhm.
But I just do not like Russell Crowe's singing voice, and that's just something that ruined it. Although his little solo number did win me over a little bit, the one that he has on the rooftop scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the one where he kills himself? I see how it is.
Not that one. That's the last one he gets. It's the one that sets him up as wanting to kill himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I don't know. I can appreciate the critical response to it, but yeah.
There's things to like about it. I don't think it's a lost cause. However, when you're hearing the phrase, and I'm Javel, several times, you kind of lose a lot of your focus.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Next on the docket, we have Renfield,
Ew.
the latest from Nicolas Cage, featuring Nicholas Holt. Have you seen the trailers for this?
Yeah, it looks awful.
Yeah.
Nothing about this
They were-
movie looks good to me.
They were trying to hype it up so much, and it's just like, really? This is what you're putting your work into?
Like, I don't doubt Nicolas Cage could be a good Dracula. However, I've read Dracula and I know the character of Renfield, and like this whole like abusive relationship thing they're doing here. No
Mhm.
shit. That was like the case of the book, but you're not being exactly clever about it, so stop framing it as that.
Yep.
Do you know Renfield in the book? Like what his deal is?
Nope.
He is a mentally um very mentally compromised, mentally ill man. And the
Mhm.
whole point of the book is that Dracula exploits his mental illness to get him to be like his day walker, go out and do shit for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of got that vibe.
Yeah. So that's what they're doing here. And it's just like Renfield in the book didn't even know what the fuck was going on. So why the fuck do you have him like, I need to get out of this abusive relationship I'm in? Ugh. Well, who are you in this relationship with? Fucking Dracula of all people. Can you believe it?
Is this supposed to be set in New Orleans?
Is it?
I don't know. They have Aquafina in it, who plays like a cop, I guess. And she has a badge that says PDNO, and it has like the New Orleans fleur de lis on it. Look it up. Because that would be a weird decision.
Why would Dracula go to New Orleans?
Yeah. All right, here's the plot. In the early 20th century, Transylvanian vampire Count Dracula meets English lawyer R.M. Renfield. Renfield hopes to broker a deal for some land, but ends up becoming Dracula's familiar. After killing Renfield and being killed himself by Van Helsing, Dracula reforms himself and elects to resurrect Renfield to continue serving as his servant. 90 years later, Renfield relies on the superhuman strength and agelessness Dracula gave him through regularly eating bugs. What the fuck? That's just a weird line to throw in there with a period at the end. Dracula has recently had a close call with some vampire hunters who almost killed him, so the duo moves to New Orleans to recuperate. There, Renfield discovers a 12-step self-help group for persons in codependent relationships and plans to hunt out the group's abusive lovers so he can kill and give to Dracula to feast on without feeling remorse. On following one to a warehouse with stolen drugs, Renfield is confronted by several criminals before they are all attacked by assassin hired by the rival Lobo crime family. What the fuck? Why is this? This is like the first paragraph. Why is there so much shit going on?
That's the first paragraph?
Yes.
No.
After killing the assassin, Renfield unsuccessfully attempts to hunt down the man who hired him, Teddy Lobo, who drives off in a hurry. And a weakened Renfield drags the corpses back to Dracula's lair in the basement of the dilapidated charity hospital. Teddy runs into a sobriety checkpoint that is run by Rebecca Quincy, a second-generation police officer, played by Awkwafina, who arrests Teddy after he hurls bricks of cocaine at her police. What a fucking idiot. At the police station, Teddy is released from custody by corrupt police officers, while Rebecca has a confrontation with her sister Kate, an FBI agent. Dracula tells Renfield that the criminals he has brought as food are insufficient and that the vampire desires the blood of someone pure and innocent instead. Renfield goes to a restaurant to abduct commoners, while Rebecca is also led there by clues from the crime scene. The two are caught in an attack on Rebecca's life that Teddy has been pressured into making so that the fierce reputation of the Lobos will be re-established. Instead, Renfield and Rebecca defend themselves, killing several gang members and leading Teddy to escape. I don't care what happens in the rest of this because there's like 4 more paragraphs.
What the fuck?
Renfield and Rebecca beat Dracula into pieces, capture his healing blood, and divide up the bits of his corpse into pieces of concrete that they scatter across the water system, either finally destroying the vampire or at least making it very hard for him to reform his body. Renfield later resurrects his self-help group friends, with him feeling empowered to make a new life for himself. Okay.
This reads as like a fan fiction.
It really does.
Yeah.
Would you believe it's not doing well?
No.
Got a whole $7 million at the box office, though.
What's the budget?
60.
Ouch. Why would they make such a weird movie? I'm just trying to like get who the target audience is.
This is a Nick Cage fans.
You're right. For whatever reason, I was thinking like people who go to like an abusive support group, like power fantasy. But then I'm like, why would people want a power fantasy out of like a very traumatic point in their life? Like, it does not compute.
Yeah. I don't know. At the very least, I can say that this does not sound like a movie I would be interested in seeing.
Then I have the movie for you. It's about
What's
a
that?
little business up in New York. The
Coming up
two
next,
brothers.
we have Joaquin Phoenix's latest film, Beau is Afraid. I'm sure it's very normal.
It sounds very normal.
He totally isn't playing 4 different versions of him. Or sorry, 3 of the 4 different versions of himself. I need to like find an actual description of what the fuck happens here, because this is literally 1 sentence and tells me nothing. Like, I know it's a Joaquin Phoenix movie, but you can do better. Rotten Tomatoes. Oh my god, this is so funny. Why is there needs to be? Let me see what does IMDb have? Like, Wikipedia descriptions are always like a thesis, and yeah, IMDb is the same, where you get literally a sentence. Wikipedia it is. What happens in Beau is Afraid?
You know, I'm kind of wondering who puts those Wikipedia plot summaries in there. Is it like a PR company?
Yeah.
Or is it like an actual Wikipedia editor?
I feel like it has to be a real person, because no one else would care this much.
You would think, right?
I can't imagine. As an adult, Bo is extremely anxious, and I mean, I'm skipping stuff here because this is too long. As an adult, Bo is extremely anxious and living alone in a crime-ridden city. His therapist prescribes an experimental drug for his anxiety and warns him to only take it with water. He prepares for a flight to see his mother for his parents' wedding anniversary. After being kept awake through the night due to a neighbor playing loud music through the wall, Bo sleeps through his alarm. After hastily packing, he discovers that his keys and luggage have been stolen from his door. He calls his mother to explain the situation, but she dismisses him. Bo takes his medication, but panics when he discovers there's a water outage. Oh, well, that's inconvenient. On his way to a convenience store across the street, he evades a group of deranged homeless people who break into his apartment and lock him out. After sleeping on scaffolding outside the building, Bo returns to his vandalized apartment the next morning. He attempts to call his mother, only to have it answered by a postal worker who describes finding a decapitated woman. Bo is soon told that it is his mother. In a state of shock, he tries to take a bath and discovers an intruder hiding in the ceiling. The intruder falls, and Bo runs naked out of his apartment and onto the streets. After a brief confrontation with a police officer, Bo is hit by a truck. What the fuck? Bo wakes up 2 days later in the house of a married couple, Grace and Roger. They care for an unstable veteran named Jeeves, who was their son's army comrade after he was killed in action. The couple have an angsty teenage daughter named Tony, who instantly despises Bo. Bo calls Mona's attorney, Dr. Cohen, who chastises him and informs Bo that her last wish, this is his mother, was not to be buried until he is present. Roger promises to take Bo to his mother's estate as soon as possible, but insists he rests until he's healed. On the day Bo is supposed to leave, Tony takes Bo to her brother's old room and attempts to force him to paint the wall in different colors. When he refuses, she ruthlessly berates Bo and drinks out of a paint bucket, killing herself.
What?
Grace walks in on Bo standing over Tony's body and violently blames him for her death. Bo flees into the wood and Grace sends Jeeves after him. Lost in the wilderness, Bo comes upon a group of traveling theater actors called the Orphans of the Forest. He is invited to the rehearsal and becomes entranced by the play, imagining himself as the protagonist in a lengthy animated sequence. A man approaches Bo and informs him that he knew his father and that he's alive. The troupe is ambushed by Jeeves, slaughtering several actors in the process. Bo evades Jeeves and flees deeper into the forest. Bo hitchhikes the rest of his way to the estate, only to find that he had missed his mother's funeral. He naps on the couch and wakes up to the sound of a woman entering the house late for the service. He realizes it is Elaine, and they reconnect. Who the fuck is Elaine? I don't care. They make their way to Mona's bedroom and passionately make love. Of course they do. Bo is terrified that he's going to die the second he... What? He's terrified that he's going to die the second he ejaculates, but is relieved when he survives. However, Elaine has died mid-climax, her body frozen stiff. What the fuck?
You ever just
Mona
fuck
then
so
appears
bad?
from the shadows and reveals that she was not only still alive, but watching the whole time. She shames Bo and tells him that his therapist has been sharing their sessions with her. He demands to know the truth about his father, and she takes him to the attic, where Bo learns that he not only has a secret twin... Okay, I'm done here. This is so fucking weird that it's probably actually pretty good. This is very peak Joaquin Phoenix, though.
I was waiting for the moment you told me that Joaquin's character would turn into the Joker.
No,
No?
I'm not going to spoil it, but no, that doesn't happen.
Damn.
How fucking weird.
I've
Here.
never heard a movie with such a antiquated plot like that.
I'm going to send you a screen snip of where I cut out because it literally gets too weird for me to want to even like describe in a public setting, but it sure is something. Who made this? Who wrote this? Ari Aster. What the fuck, dude? Get help, please. What the hell?
Dude, no, it's a Persona reference. There's a penis-shaped monster. Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah, this is just
I
terrible.
don't know. Apparently, this is the same person who did Hereditary and Midsummer.
Hereditary was an okay movie. Is that the one I'm thinking it is? I'm pretty sure that's exactly the movie I'm thinking it is.
What even fucking genre? Surrealist black comedy horror film. Yeah, sure. Just slap that label on whatever weird shit that you decide to make a movie out of, I suppose.
Remember, kids, as long as no one can make sense of it, it's surrealist.
I feel no, I was talking about the black comedy part. I feel like black comedy is just a label that people who make movies that are too abstract to fit to be marketable to a conventional audience put that label on there because they made one joke in it at least that they think is good and that's how they're going to market it instead. It's not a surrealist horror film, it's a surrealist black comedy horror film.
Okay, I see what you mean.
That just seems to be how they all work, where they're very clearly not comedies at all other than I don't think the aspect of something existing where you can laugh at it is enough to call it a comedy, right? And that seems to be where it is. Like you can laugh at someone else's pain, but that feels to me at least to not be comedy at that point. What a weird fucking movie.
Do we have any more movies to get the taste of that out of our mouths, or?
Two, in fact. I'll start with the worst of them first.
Oh shit.
Mafia Mama. An American mom, Toni Collette, inherits her grandfather's mafia empire in Italy. Guided by the firm's consigliere, she hilariously defies everyone's expectations as the new head of the family business. It's not doing well.
Sounds like The Godfather, but they wanted to go with The Godmother.
Yeah.
Next.
It moves tactlessly from scene to scene, adorned with outrageous shootouts and lousy jokes, producing a feverish cinematic experience. Excellent. And finally, Air, the Nike movie.
Oh
This
shit.
one's actually doing really well. I'd have to double check, but this is one of the first movies in a while we've had with both Matt Damon and Ben Affleck together again.
Oh yeah. Did I ever tell you my stupid idea for a biopic for those two?
What's that?
So you know they were like famously roommates at one point, right?
Yeah, they did a ton of movies together for a while.
Yeah. So I want a biopic where they play each other, where Matt Damon is Ben Affleck and Affleck is Matt Damon.
That would be good.
It would really show how well those two probably know each other.
I'm sure they do well.
Yeah, dude. Like, just imagine it. Like, when you live with someone, you do know their habits pretty damn well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So is that movie doing good?
Yeah, it's at like 90s both critically and audience score. So
That makes
it's
sense.
solid. It is a a historical drama, I guess you could say, dramatizing the process of Nike identifying the then rookie Michael Jordan and making what would be the Air Jordan brand. That's just kind of it.
Oh, well, fair enough.
This moving story follows the career-defining gamble of an unconventional team with everything on the line, the uncompromising vision of a mother who knows the worth of her son's immense talent, and the basketball phenom who would become the greatest of all time.
I guess there's the biography movie I was talking about for sports.
Kind of. I guess it's fitting that the sports biographic movie is told through the capitalistic lens of the shoe industry.
All athletics right now only serve to prop their capitalist sponsors. You know that.
Yep.
You cannot tell me there's an integrity to sports at the moment. Nah. Not when the XFL just became a thing, and the only reason the XFL is a thing is because it's fucking made by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. There's no love of the game. There's only the love of the advertisement.
Pretty much. Wow, they have a ton of fucking pictures for this. That's wild. Most like promotional things have like one or two of the poster and then maybe 5 to 10 of the film. This has 20. And 8 short clips. God damn. That's the movie roundup, though. That's all I got.
Well, that's good. Glad to see we didn't miss anything important.
Yeah, I'm sure we did, but it's whatever.
I'm going to be so fucking glad when I don't have Renfield ads playing on YouTube anymore. So fucking sick of that movie being on all my fucking YouTube ads, and it's always like the 3 minute trailer. Do you know how long 3 minutes is in YouTube ad time? It's an eternity. Regardless, any other segments we have for the show this week?
Double checking, but I believe that is all.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for tuning in this week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Miss Orion, and man, I should have called this the Super Schmoes Show this week. Regardless,
Damn.
I know, dude. Super Schmoes Bros or something like that. Fucking, I'm a missing advertisement opportunities back and forth.
And I'm Cairo, and I'm also a Schmo.
This has been the Super Schmo. I'm not even gonna do it. Fuck it.